Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Jason.
Hello, everyone.
And Stoney.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Yep.
We are doing well right now. I am
A little hot.
it's hot, but I'm actually my life is fixing to change a little bit. My girlfriend, she got a job, the one she was looking for here in town.
Okay.
And she's going to be moving in,
Uh-oh.
and so we're beginning the process of uncluttering
Yes.
my house after 20 years of stuff
Yeah.
a lot that needed to go.
Yeah, just
that I've
collecting
just been
things.
holding
Yeah.
on to. It's like, why do I still have all this crap? But so it's going to be busy for us for the next several weeks as we begin the transition, because she starts her new job August 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she wants to be in by the end of July. So
Okay.
that means we've got to start. She's got to start packing, getting what she's going to sell, what we're going to put in storage, and
The whole process.
that
Oh,
whole
man.
process. So yeah, my life is fixing to get a little crazy. So
Yeah.
but exciting at the same time.
But sometimes it's nice to kind of go through some stuff and get rid of
Well,
old
I've gotten
things
rid
and-
of a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's yeah.
Little spring cleaning garage sales. Now that we're officially, I think, in summer right now.
Well, I mean, today it was a holiday,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was at home. Since now I'm back at work,
Right.
And I take advantage of days off. But I went and I had a new hot water heater installed in my house, so I've got
Was there something-
scalding hot water now.
I said it was the original hot water heater.
Oh, from like the
And
what,
we're
from
on the ride up
70s?
here, he
Yeah,
goes-
my house was built like in 1981.
Oh my
This is, and in the ride up here, he goes, well, this is the first time I've ever had real hot water.
Get out.
And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm going, have you flushed it? No.
Okay, well.
You have to flush a hot water
See,
heater
Yeah.
once to twice a year minimum.
I did not know that. I knew that about tankless hot water heaters because that
Right.
standard. You don't think about the hot water heater.
It
Right.
could have
It's
had
just-
had 2 feet of sediment down in the bottom.
Really?
By the time either the coil or the heating apparatus is at the bottom,
Right.
it has to go through 6 inches, a foot,
Yeah.
2 foot of sediment to heat the top. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Well,
my
I mean, the
gosh.
fact of the matter is, how many people flush out their hot water heaters? Not many. I guarantee you.
I bet you will now.
Well, now.
After how much? How much? What? $2,500?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you will now. I bet you that'll be a good 2 hours
Well,
once a year
I mean,
for you,
yeah.
and you're going to go,
Yeah, it's. I'm going to make that as a just like my normal yearly.
Is that
thing.
something you can
as long
do?
as I stay at my house? Now, I mean, ultimately, her and I will. Once I get the roof issue resolved, because I'm right now, unfortunately, having to file a lawsuit against my insurance company
Oh, no.
because they refuse to replace my roof. They basically came out. They sent their inspector,
Mm-hmm.
and then my roofer's there with them. They get up on the roof. I got shingles falling off.
Oh, gosh.
And I literally get roofers constantly stopping at my house.
Well, yeah,
wanting
saying, "We
to
can fix it."
We can fix it.
Yeah.
The problem is you really can't fix a 20-year-old roof. You're not
You
even
just
supposed
gotta.
right. Yeah, but they basically, my insurance company, basically the guy said that, well, I can't really look at all that other stuff. I can only then basically gave me they cut me a check for $1,200, which I laughed at.
Yeah, right.
I laughed in their face.
About
and
twice as much, I think, right?
you can't even re-roof it for $1,200. And you know what re-roofing is, right? You just put shingles over the
Yeah,
existing.
right.
So-
and legally, you can do that 3 times.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
The funny thing. I went to my insurance agent, and I know him very well, been a lifelong friend, and I walked in with paperwork. He goes, "I already know why you're here." He goes, I already know what's going on." He goes, "They even denied my own son's claim." And here's
Really?
a State Farm agent that has been with them for 40 years, and his own son his claim got denied too. So
it's not like they're not nepotism.
He goes, I don't know what's going on with State Farm right now, but they have adopted a nothing approach.
I don't know if I said this on the last episode or not, but you heard what's happening to United Healthcare.
Oh, yeah. Right? I think we did talk about that a little bit.
Really, they're being sued by BlackRock. Now, just for the record, I am not suicidal.
Uh-oh.
I have no intentions of killing myself. If you hear in the news or on this show that I have committed suicide, please call my law enforcement friends. I did not commit suicide.
Right.
But after the CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated or murdered, however you want to put it, they started approving a larger percentage
of claims.
Right. And now BlackRock, which is BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, they all own each other and everything. They have sued United Healthcare for infringing on their right to make a profit.
Right. Because I think that if I'm not mistaken, I think BlackRock owns like 10 to 12%, which is one of the largest shareholders of.
Well, they own
healthcare.
10 to 12% of everything.
I know. But I'm talking about in that situation,
except for the Retrospect podcast.
Well, I mean, this whole question of insurance, on a small scale like my roof, and but the problem is, in my case, there are people that are getting approved. It's so weird how in my parents' subdivision, my sister bought a house. They're getting a new roof.
Really?
State Farm, same thing. It's
interesting.
and it's a lot more than what I've got.
Well, this is one of those make it make sense questions.
It is.
And there's another one that's kind of come up for me right now. Our president, Donald Trump, has 5 kids, 3 baby mamas, lives in government housing, has a mugshot.
I know what you're doing.
And the liberals still hate him.
Yep.
Make this make sense. He should be the poster child for the libtards, shouldn't he?
No,
I mean, does that not fit the description of every libtard out there?
Maybe we need you need a psychologist to try to understand the absolute just hatred that a segment of the population has for this guy. And I'm telling you, I'm a firm believer that they've been programmed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we've talked about episodes, about frequencies and subliminal messaging and all these things. And I have to believe I've never hated a president, even if it was a president that I didn't vote for that was president. I never hated them.
Right.
I never had this kind of visceral reaction to a political candidate.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't feel like I have the energy to worry about it to that degree, because I mean, ultimately my life's really not going to change, but you do is for whatever reason, Donald Trump is a lightning rod.
Oh, yeah.
And I know he's very bombastic, and, he's kind of he's unlike, your typical smooth talking, shake your hand, smile, kind of that, he's just not that. And I think for some people, they've just been conditioned to hate the guy. I'm a firm believer in that. Now, of course, you see all this stuff going on with these riots and going on.
That's been the most fun I've had all week, is watching these libtards, the faces, the expression on their faces when they realize that rubber bullets hurt so much worse than the Call of Duty bullets playing in their mother's basements.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's
it's awesome. Awesome.
I saw an article regarding that the ice was blocked at Dodger Stadium.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's one of the mayor of Los Angeles said he's going to arrest ICE agents who go after the undocumented or illegal immigrants. I can't wait to see this happen.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. But Donald Trump, you got to give him a little credit. He dodged another bullet this weekend.
What you mean?
With the whole Iran-Israeli war, he was being misled. He was being lied to by some of the leftover Obama administrators, generals, advisors, and everything else on this Israeli war. He was being misled, and he caught him. And there was a document. I'm waiting for a friend of mine to send me an actual copy of the document that proves he was being misled.
Well, I just, that whole, I mean, regime change needs to happen in Iran.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean,
Have you seen the videos of the young girls removing their, screaming and hollering death to a dictator?
Yeah.
And they hate their government. And, you look at pictures in the 70s before the Ayatollah took over. That was an absolutely beautiful country. They were, the ladies were in bikinis. It was a very westernized country with a beautiful culture, and they just completely ruined it because, look, no one wants to say it. I've said it all along. The war is against Islam. It just is.
Yeah.
And until people kind of really wrap their minds around that, and I know in our modern world today, in our secular world, we kind of keep religion at a distance, but you can't do that with them.
Yeah.
That is who they are. And the teachings of that religion are so contrary to Western values.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how you fix that. I really don't. So that I've always said, the war is with Islam.
Yeah.
It just is. Can Iran be? Yeah, it can be. When it was ruled by secular.
I got a question for you. You can type some stuff.
Yeah.
What is the color of the Iraqi flag?
I don't know. That's a good
What
question.
is the color of the Syrian flag? What is the color of Islamic-run countries' flags? Turkey. Name them.
White, red, and black.
Okay. And there's one more color. Pale green.
Okay. Yeah.
So what is this?
Okay.
Where are you going with this?
Now please look up what are the color of the four horsemen in Revelation.
I know what you're doing. Okay.
Do you know what the colors are?
Yes.
What were the colors? What are the colors of the Revelation four horsemen? White, red, black, and pale green. This is all biblical, and it's time that people woke up and realized what's going on.
I'm telling you, I don't know what the answer is to this. I really don't. But I mean, Israel's not going to be at peace as long as Iran is funding and all these terror cells and everything else, because that's where they're coming. That's where it's coming from. It's Iran. So the problem is you got the Russians and the Chinese that are deep into that country, and that's the problem. So I don't know. I think we're in a very, very tenuous time. I think Taiwan is something to be watched right now with China, because if China should take Taiwan, they will become the most advanced country in the world. I mean, it will. I mean, unfortunately, so much of our tech has concentrated in that area, and you're basically on the patio of communist China. I mean,
that tech used to be in America.
Well, it did until we started
outsourcing
during the early '80s, and I blame those.
We got kind of off pretty quick on it, but what do the four horsemen mean? Are you familiar with that?
It's
what's the white horse mean?
Is it white? Is it famine?
Conquest.
I think it's war, famine, pestilence, death.
Right.
The red horse is war and bloodshed.
Right. I knew war.
The black horse is famine and scarcity.
Yeah.
And the pale horse is death and pestilence. What happens to like you were talking about? What happened to Iran when the Islamic regime took over? All of these things.
Well,
what happened to Syria? All of these things. What's happening to Pakistan and India and all these other countries that are being taken over?
Well, right now India is a huge ally for us. I mean,
is it?
No,
they're not.
Yeah, they're more of an ally than Pakistan.
They may be more of an ally, but they're not a true ally.
Well, I mean, they're not what I would call one of the traditional allies.
Then they're not an ally. I want a traditional ally.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is human relations are often complicated, and you're dealing with different cultures, and they are nuanced. So the fact of the matter is generally India is usually with the United States on most things. I know right now India and Pakistan are at each other's throats.
Yeah.
And they're both nuclear powers. So, I mean, there's just issues there. But I'm telling you that the Middle East thing, I don't know what it's going to be. How do you reason with a group of people that basically want to destroy you? I mean, how do you have a rational discussion?
Oh, yeah.
With that, and I don't know what the answer is to that. I really don't.
Right.
But I want us to be very careful about trying to get them. If Iran wants to go, I mean, if Israel wants to go in there on their own and do that, then you know what? They got nukes.
Yeah,
they can defend themselves.
Right.
But I do not want to see American soldiers.
No.
At all in there now. Am I naive in thinking there's not advisors or special forces or,
espionage,
Delta operators?
Well, I think the Nimitz is on its way if it's not already there. So they're going, and they will control the airspace over Iran.
Yes.
Wow.
They will control it.
So I think
you can right now you can look at the flight wear and things like that. There are no planes flying over Iran right now.
I don't blame them.
I think what they're hoping for is the people will rise up in that country and depose their leader.
I agree, 100%.
Get the generals and the military to switch sides and basically say, Ayatollah, it's over.
It's time.
It's time.
Yes.
We've got to move into the 21st century here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much potential for that country to be a part of the world instead of a backwards, living in the Stone Age the way they live. And
do you think they have the means to fill that gap, though?
Well, the United States tried with the Shah.
Well,
unfortunately, it got overthrown because those Islamic elements took over. But I mean, as long as you can keep them at bay. Now the question is, how do you do that? Okay, if you don't, because some of this stuff comes out of Saudi Arabia, and nobody's going to do anything to Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's where Islam came out of, was Saudi Arabia. It's the teachings of that religion is the problem. It is a religion of conquest. It's been that way since it came out. That's the reason the Crusades were fought.
Oh, yeah.
To repel hundreds of years of Muslim aggression.
To defend themselves.
Well, I mean, originally it was to basically go to protect pilgrims going to the Holy Land to see these areas that were once Christian lands. I mean, a lot of people forget that for 500 years or so, I mean, those were Christian lands. I mean, you look in the Bible right now. I mean, a lot of those cities are in Muslim territories now. So. People kind of forget about that. They think, the Muslims were always there. No, they were not always there. They were Christian lands. North Africa, Egypt, Syria, Turkey. Those are very ancient Christian sites. I kind of like reading and kind of what ifs. Oh, yeah. Different times in history, what would have happened. And so I kind of was going down a rabbit hole of what if the Roman Empire never fell?
Okay.
And how that would have changed the dynamics of Europe and in that area of the world. And it's pretty fascinating. They probably would have bottled up Islam in Arabia. It would have never got out.
Yeah.
All those areas would have evolved as Christian countries. And, kind of probably would be a lot further along than they are today. If none, probably the Crusades never happened.
Right.
All those areas remain Christian. I would even venture to say the power of Christianity, of Christendom, is probably heavily now in the East. than it is in the West. So it's pretty interesting, but I just think they got to get the Ayatollah out of there. I mean, they just do. I just think he's dragging that country down, and they have to get over all that. I mean, they just got to wake up and say, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole deal, we got to destroy a people, that consumes my life, that I've got to go kill people. I mean, what kind of thinking is this? I mean, I don't know. I just crazy.
Yeah.
But
no. We briefly touched for a moment on technology.
Yeah.
And I was like for a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, our original topic. I mean,
I could have kept going like this. This would have been fine
I mean,
too.
we could definitely do it.
Well, I mean, look. I'm telling you, this episode, just for our listeners. I mean, I saw an article that I thought would be interesting to just kind of comment on, talk about, and hopefully maybe get some responses in the comments.
Yeah.
It's
fun to speculate.
It's fun to speculate whether this is true or not. But I forwarded a Newsweek article to you guys a while back. On this, and this was in April 15th, and the title of it was "White House advisor Michael Kratsios goes viral with sci-fi-like claim that the U.S. can manipulate time and space." So it appears that at a conference in Austin, Texas on April 14th of this year, he made a comment at the Endless Frontiers Retreat. I guess it's to do with tech and that kind of stuff. But Kratsios is a director of White House in the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. So, he's probably going out and talking, but yeah, he basically made some sweeping, declarations that implies that American technology can manipulate time and space. So I said, wow, I wonder how, I mean, if that is the case. Now, of course, this brings in a lot of other things that we've kind of talked about on the UFO front,
right?
Of people like Bob Lazar and a few other whistleblowers have come forth that tech has been pulled from extraterrestrial vehicles that have been found,
right?
And some of this has been reverse engineered. When people, claim to see objects traveling and making 90-degree turns, which basically our understanding of physics, no human being could survive that.
Right, yeah.
Is this real? Is he kind of overgeneralizing? Is he, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that this would be kind of maybe lost in the news cycle.
Of course.
But it kind of keeps me kind of thinking about, where are we at with some of this stuff? I mean, have we developed some techniques that might be able to bend space?
Right.
I mean, some of this stuff was talked about with Einstein. Of course, our other favorite guy, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Some of these kind of brilliant guys had indicated that this is possible. We just don't have the ability to do that, or we, our understanding of space time is not at that point where I guess you could fashion hardware. To manipulate matter. In a way to be able to do this. So, I don't know.
Didn't they recently have something that came out from... It was a document that came out recently that was talking about a lot of this stuff. Not that article specifically. There's a document that came out, I thought, that dealt with a lot of these, like they've been looking into UAPs and that kind of stuff and like researching more about that sort of.
See, that's kind of the problem right there is, they'll throw us a bone, a blurry video, a heavily redacted document, some type of vague admission of something that's flying around there defying physics.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to clap, yay, because now it's official. Really? But what's really getting people talking is not what they're declassifying. It's what they're not telling us, the black ink, the closed door testimonies, the things that they're not letting us, the file that exists, but somehow just kind of disappears. Poof. That's not disclosure. That is a controlled leak. That's what that is. They are controlling, and I think they're spoon feeding us just enough to see what we'll do, how we'll react,
right,
and then shell game it over here. They give us just enough. Boop, boop, take it away. That's what's fueling the fire right now. That's what's driving people crazy.
Well, I there's been enough whistleblowers that have come forward that have said they have seen the tech. I believe a lot of these UAP stuff is probably our own stuff.
Oh, I agree.
Is our own stuff that is testing out this stuff they've been reverse engineering since the end of World War II.
Because deep down, I think we all believe that if they ever did something, if they ever did crack anti-gravity or recovered something not of this world, we wouldn't be the first to know. We would be the last to know.
Yeah. It said during his speech, he says, our technologies, and this is a quote, our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity. And you take that for what that means? I don't know.
I don't remember what it stands for, but the thing I was talking about was there was a BAASS leaked document that goes into like crazy detail about those. Remember once upon a time how they had that like pill-shaped craft that went into the water and didn't disturb the water, and it was moving at like something crazy like so many thousand miles an hour or whatever, and to be able to like manipulate. This document was talking about how like they're doing research on like what all that was supposed to be coming from and all that, and it goes into some crazy detail about all this stuff, but I can't find the document itself. And they got removed.
He basically said the context in which he was speaking was it was about manipulating time and space in the content of artificial intelligence, aerospace, and productivity tools. The choice of individuals to craft new technologies that give themselves to scientific discoveries that will bend time and space and make more with less. Yeah. So, of course, the White House is not admitting that they have They have it.
No.
So there's been no official statement from the White House saying this. This is just taken from a guy that works in the White House science office, and to me, the idea that he's saying it now, was that code for something else? Mm-hmm. It could be. I don't know. What do y'all think out there? I mean, is this something that is, you think it's real? Do you think we actually do have tech that can actually bend space-time? I don't know.
Well, you got to remember, think about it like this. Back in the 60s, when NASA, we were trusting them to show us the space breakthroughs, right? That was going to be the better world. The Jetsons. We were going to have the little robots that came out and vacuumed for us and cooked for us, and the little bitty propelled planes and no-wheeled ships, and but now, yes, thank you. There you go. That was a good one.
Yeah.
You don't even have to find that one online. You just
I know.
use that one right there.
I remember that.
But now DARPA and all these private contractors, are they sitting on technology that could actually change the world, but won't even confirm that they have it now? Have they been sitting on some type of anti-gravity technology since Roswell? Now they're asking us to trust these institutions that are supposed to serve us when they're keeping all this information a secret.
I don't know. I feel like there's probably some technology that probably came out of Roswell.
Oh, what?
But it gets to a point where it's like my suspension of disbelief can only go so far. And once you start getting to that stuff, it's like maybe, but like I feel like if they were somehow able to have anti-gravity tech back then, I feel like we'd be in a different. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there was something that happened in history as with wars and situations. Stunted, but
things like that are going to be kept under wraps because
I agree.
Because the fact of the matter is, if you have mastered anti-grav, if you can bend space-time, whoever has that is the top dog. There's no one that can touch you at that point. Mm-hmm. If you can fashion weapons that can kind of tap into that, it's not a thing any other country can do.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like at a certain point, if we had that, I feel like we would have been a different country in the 70s and 80s. If we were like, because you talk about being the top dog, you talk about being able to control anti-gravity tech, teleportation stuff, manipulating space-time. Like, nah. If we even had an inkling of that. And now maybe it was so scarce that they can't mass produce it or something. Maybe I could swing that. But if they had any way of making it, I don't know why they wouldn't. Why would you sit on it for this long? And then why would it still be so secretive? Why would it?
Well, look at some of the things we've talked about already. MK Ultra.
I know.
Project Montauk.
Right.
We're going to be doing another episode on another thing.
Stargate. Or no, the Gateway
Experience.
Yeah.
All of this has become known because of what? Declassified documents.
Yep.
So your tax dollars, obviously, none of this stuff is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Because all of these topics, to the common person out there, mind control, remote viewing, astral projection, all would be think you're the loony
crazy.
farm, right? You're crazy.
Yeah.
The reality is, obviously, our government thought differently.
Of course. And all I'm trying to say is that I think that there could be a potential for it, and that's what I think is happening. Is like I think that maybe for years they have been researching it and spending tax dollars to try to figure it out. Do I think we actually have it? I don't know. Maybe we have the beginnings of it. Maybe this is what some of this is talking about, of like the beginning workings of it. And that's why they're keeping it secret. Maybe, and I think we even talked about that in some of these episodes, talking about Montauk Project and those kind of things. What's happening right now that's all super secretive that we will probably find out in the next couple decades.
All they did was shut down those programs and reshuffle them under another program.
Exactly.
And you've never, that stuff's still going on.
Yeah. Operation Candied Yams.
That's right. I still have not received the phone call to go work for the CIA with the new name development center. Which
it's probably because
they
have
ticking me off at this point.
The CIA.
You probably pissed them off one too many times.
I may have.
The CIA is obviously, they're not as much as we hype up the CIA.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of sloppy too. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this stuff is coming out because, where back in the old days, it was easy to keep things secret.
Well, you see, I kind of how you said that. It almost kind of reminds me of the La Nostra, the mafia, because at one point in time, nobody turned. Mm-hmm. That was super secret, and you knew if you turned, you were going to die, your family was going to die, everybody was going to die. There was a good frame of time where nobody turned. State's evidence or nothing. Then they kind of passed this little bitty law, and they passed the RICO Act, and passed this little bitty law and says, okay, if you turn state's evidence, we'll let you go over here and work in the UPS store and live your life out in what is it? Where they hide people.
Witness
protection program.
Yeah.
Okay. But is that now happening in these super secret organizations now, because the internet, is so easily what Snowden dropped so much stuff. Yeah. He was one of these analysts, wasn't he? He was one of these cats that worked in this stuff, downloaded it on a couple of thumb drives and hauled ass.
Yep, you're right.
And so is that going to start happening more?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Once I realized that once I got in like some level of leadership, like over a larger group of people, or like, or started working like as a bigger team, I started to like look at like big companies and big businesses and even government a little different. Is like I realized that like I am in charge of this area and these group of people. And we're all like doing our jobs, we're all doing our things, like make this bigger thing move,
Mm-hmm.
I started looking at things like big corporate stores, like a Walmart or like a, in any of the big stores like that. When you start to realize that, like, when you really boil it down, we're all just a bunch of people trying to make things happen. And there is some technology that makes it easier, but for the most part, like even in government, it's all just a bunch of people. And people are flawed and have their own emotions involved and their own financial stakes involved and all that kind of stuff. So when you talk about like the CIA, it's like it feels like this large in life entity that's like this huge thing that's like, but then when you really boil it all the way down, it's all just a bunch of people, just like keeping secrets, trying to do their thing, all have their own interests, all have their own secrets and their own, their own axe to grind and whatever, what it is, or their own, own money to make, So anyways, that's...
David Grush, was a whistleblower. He came out in 2023. He publicly claimed the U.S. government and defense contractors had recovered non-human craft.
Yeah.
And were actually reverse engineering him. He alleges some of the technology involved gravity manipulation. Now, of course, none of that has been verified. He didn't produce any of that, like material, but he made the claim. But, in his support, there's been a few, a couple credible figures, including former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and physicist Dr. Hal Puthoff, have suggested the U.S. may be studying exotic propulsion systems. Of course,
Ben Rich from Skunk Works.
Yeah,
he's the executive of Skunk Works. He said, "We have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black programs. It would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity."
They'll never.
Really?
Okay, that's from an aerospace exec from Skunk Works. Skunk Works is the deal.
Yeah.
Okay, they're the ones coming up with all this crap. They're the ones reverse engineering all this stuff, and he was one of the execs. If he comes out and says something like that, wait.
Yeah. I think it would. I think when there's smoke, there is fire, and I think this idea that nothing is going on there, that some things that we might consider science fiction are actually real.
Well,
right.
You know what? In 2020, the United States Navy has 3 patents that they applied for. Craft using inertial mass reduction, high frequency gravitational wave generator, and a room temperature superconductor.
Interesting.
The Navy unusually defended these patents and even claimed the tech was operable, though there is no public proof.
Of course.
Internal memos revealed that they are testing concepts that would allow anti-gravity or zero inertia movement.
Right.
That's in 2020 from the naval,
Yeah.
the Navy.
Right.
These are naval patents.
And that same document I was talking about that got released is talking about that stuff as well, of like, being able to manipulate inertia to where you don't make a disturbance when moving into water or whatever, like all that kind of crazy stuff that was happening with that craft that they found, the Navy found, or stumbled upon, or whatever you want to consider it.
Well, they got a few speculative.
Yeah.
They got some claims out there. As we mentioned, Bob Lazar, he claimed he reverse engineered alien craft at S4 near Area 51. You had TR-3B Black Manta. Was an alleged secret triangular anti-gravity aircraft. That was never officially confirmed. Of course, I love when they say officially confirmed.
Yeah.
When the government says that, it's probably there.
Right.
And then they also, Dr. Salvatore Pius, if I'm pronouncing his name correct, he filed for patents. He was a Navy researcher for devices involving inertial mass reduction. potentially connected to anti-gravity or exotic propulsion. So
Yeah.
I think there's definitely, they're looking into that, and whether it's something that they've kind of developed on their own, which I would find that hard to believe, but who knows? Maybe there's some smart people out there that that are, they're so far out there and in the ether, so to speak, that they can maybe they can figure some of this stuff out. But I mean, the idea, it makes sense that some of this stuff was recovered, and
if they didn't recover it, why would there be a program called ATIP, AATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait a minute. You're just going to magically pull this out of your butthole and go, let's start this program to go ahead and let's start looking for this stuff. We've denied it for decades, but now we're going to spend billions of dollars to start a threat identification program for stuff that we may or may not know about. Oh, wait, that's another way to hide stuff in black money, isn't it?
Exactly.
Oh, wait a minute. We're just going to call this something else now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in a couple years, we didn't find anything, but now we're going to call it
candied yams.
Candied yams.
Or some strange name. Yeah. Well, as I said, whoever masters this,
they're
going to rule the world.
They rule the world, because, I mean, the minute I can manipulate space-time, I can manipulate gravity, well, game over.
Right.
Game over.
Yeah.
It's just...
it's interesting because we're in this kind of modern age where information happens so quickly. Like you said, once upon a time in history, it was very easy to hide things or keep things secret. But now I feel like even just like the little bits, like you get
little slips here and there.
Yeah, little slips here and there are easier to happen and harder, I think, to cover up. And I think that's what's happening.
I mean, it's the transition. I think a lot of these agents, that transitioning into the digital world.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time to like the next generation agents that are more into the modern digital and how that works to hide stuff, because a lot of these guys that were during the Cold War, they didn't deal with all that.
That's what I'm saying.
It was they just
you do a little slip up here or there, and it's I think a lot easier to cover your tracks.
Everything was paper.
Yeah.
But buried in file cabinets.
But that's right. But then you come back down to Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
What were the German and the Nazis doing at the end of World War II? They had the Die Glock, the bell.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposedly successful. And I think America got most of the paperwork, and didn't they get 2 of the bells? And brought them and some of the scientists back from Germany to America.
They brought a lot of scientists. I forget them.
Well, 1,600.
Yeah, it was a lot of them. Basically, it's kind of one of those things: either come work for us, or we'll prosecute you for war crimes.
But that was a 9-foot tall bell that could manipulate time and matter around it.
Yeah,
a lot of radiation. I think it killed any animals that were around it when what was happening?
Look that up. I'm curious what that the bell thing. I'm not. That's not really ringing a bell with me.
Oh,
so to
really?
Speak.
Oh man, that was one of the big ones that came from the war.
It
was a Nazi anti-gravitational device.
Right now, I'm not. It's just not. I'd be very curious what made you find up.
It was filled with a purple liquid called Serum 525.
Okay.
And supposedly could just float in the air, but anytime they put any type of animals or prisoners around it, they died.
Here's a little brief description right here. It says the secret Nazi projects of World War II, the mystery of what he considered the Die Glock, perhaps one of the most mysterious Nazi projects, was also nicknamed the Bell because of its bell-shaped.
It looked like a big bell.
This project allegedly involved advanced physics and has led to theories of anti-gravity experiments or even time manipulation. However, concrete evidence remains elusive and much of what is claimed about the Die Glocke is speculative. Its true purpose is still debated by historians.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There was a lot of stuff that came out of what Nazi Germany was doing. The Russians were heavily involved in a lot of this stuff. That's what kind of drove the Cold War fear that, they felt like the Russians would be able to manipulate people and Manchurian candidates. And all of this stems from the same thing. All this stuff was being worked on by very diabolical groups of people. And I'm going to tell you another thing that I've mentioned before, that it was a movie that was made on, it's called The Atticus Institute, about the government's attempt to weaponize supposed possession by extraterrestrial entities, i.e. the demons or whatever, however you want to call it.
Right.
But I'd be very curious. I'm wondering if it all seems to be coming out of the same umbrella of programs that they were trying to weaponize certain things to be able to use against. And it didn't look like there was no. Nothing was off the table. I mean, I people would be shocked of what your tax dollars have gone to war, and they spent years doing this stuff, not just kind of off the fluke. I mean, it's just like involving people and all these different things. I tell people you need to kind of do your digging on this stuff. Don't just discount stuff because it sounds crazy. What sounded crazy is now coming out that a lot of it was real. I mean, so
I hate to say it again, but I
know what you're fixing to say.
What I'm fixing to say.
Yeah.
4 years ago, conspiracy theorists were up 32-0. As of this year, they are up 78-0.
Yeah, they keep all these fears that people.
Am I that predictable? Damn.
Well,
no, it's just you've said it a handful of times on the show. It's like
it's
your catchphrase. Yeah.
It's actually not a lie.
No, it's very true. I do believe a lot of these conspiracy theories are grounded very much in hard reality. Maybe some things might get a little exaggerated here and there, but the kernel of truth is there.
Yeah.
It's there. It's obviously, it's like what you say about legends.
Yeah.
Legends are grounded in some real historical event. It's just they've been elaborated and language is used.
I've said the same thing about conspiracy theories sometimes. Like sometimes you just need like a little nugget of truth, and then you need just enough space of the unknown for people just to latch onto it and then just let their minds go wild. And that's all they need.
And of course, you need that space, but there's, I think there's got to be some other things that kind of give me the preponderance of evidence, kind of going into the legal world. The preponderance of evidence is like, I'm hearing this and this whistleblower is saying this and I think that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to entertain this to a degree because
there's just enough truth.
It's not like somebody's just saying something and no one is you're just on an island by yourself. I'm not saying that person may not be right, but when you have very prominent people within the government claiming, just run the gamut. I've seen alien bodies. I've seen alien craft. I've seen people working on these projects. These things. So, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you get just enough of like what you would consider factual, like grounded evidence or grounded experiences, and then not enough of like any kind of actual physical evidence, but there's enough for you to kind of like piece some things together. I say the same thing about sarcasm. Sometimes the best sarcasm, the best, funniest sarcasm always comes from a little bit of truth. If you're being sarcastic or you're kind of making a dig and a sarcastic remark, sometimes being a little bit honest is the best kind of joke, I think. But anyways.
Now, this is the first thing. The establishment of the AARO. I didn't realize this. It's the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office.
Like I said, you close this one, you open it up under another one.
It's tasked with investigating UAPs and potential foreign or non-human technology.
Yep. I've heard of them.
congressional hearings, testimonies pointing toward non-human origin materials. I mean, have you seen some of the photos that have come from Mars?
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Like recent ones?
Yeah. Of just objects on that planet that look.
Did you see Voyager? One of the images came back, had a humanoid face.
Yeah, supposedly it just started working again.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like something grabbed it and sent something back that was I don't know if it was a humanoid or humanoid-ish type face.
Right.
Well, to me, I find it interesting that all of a sudden a satellite that is basically way past that's just floating in the deep space just miraculously started working again. I mean, I just, could it have been worked on or investigate, or it could it be a fluke? I don't know. I mean,
technology's temperamental sometimes.
Yeah, but man, that's old tech. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know either. I just think it's funny sometimes to kind of poke and be the skeptic here.
Well, I mean, you need that. I mean, you don't need to believe. And believe me, I'm not necessarily. I keep my expectations with this stuff. I allow my brain to go there to a degree. I'm always open to the idea that this stuff exists, that is being worked on. I think there's been too much evidence out there to just discount it.
Right.
Too many people have seen certain things. We got video evidence of it happening.
Right.
You get into the abduction issues and people, what they've experienced. To me, that would be horrible to there was a movie that came out. I don't know if y'all saw it. It's called Fire in the Sky.
I've heard of it.
And it was a movie based on an alien abduction that occurred in the Northwest. I believe it was in Washington or back in the 70s, I think. And, the guy passed all lie detectors. I mean, when they investigated it, they could not refute his claims.
Right.
At all. That he was taken by this craft. And while his friends see his body being done the deal, and then they find him naked in a phone booth somewhere, where he's. There's too much stuff out there to just kind of like, they're crazy, and I don't want to go there. I think it's frightening for some people. I really do. I have conversations with people that are very religious, and I understand that. This kind of shakes their reality up a little bit. They're kind of they're how they've constructed the world in their reality, and sometimes people shut their minds off to some of this stuff. And look, I get it. I understand the implications.
Yeah.
Of really allowing yourself to go there and what that would mean.
Mm-hmm.
If they come out and definitively say, yes, we've retrieved this tech, extraterrestrial origin, it's not from this planet, it came from somewhere else, of course, then that leads you to the next conclusion, well, who made it?
Right.
Okay, it didn't just materialize out of thin air.
Yeah.
Somebody actually thought about it, was a rational thought about it. They had mathematics, they had physics, they had all the things to create a material, create technologies that can do extraordinary things.
Right.
The idea that there is something out there of an advanced civilization.
Or I try to think of it also from the context of us. Like, we have cars, we have vehicles that are, mass produced by like factories, and just to think that like there is some sort of craft of some futuristic thing that is potentially made by a group of people. Maybe there's some sort of factory of people that assemble this thing.
Think about it like this, okay?
Military industrial complex type stuff of like
this supposed face from Voyager. Maybe it's not a face. Maybe we're just seeing what we want to see.
Of course.
Right.
Okay, maybe. Okay, and maybe we're putting too much emphasis on it being, not okay, bottom line to it is something still sent information to us.
Right.
And we're dismissing that part because now we're trying to get too far on the, well, is it a human face? Is it is it this? Is it a picture of somebody's butthole? We don't know. But somebody still sent something to us using our satellite.
Right. I don't even know where it's at right now. I'm trying to remember where they think it might be. Is it somewhere past Neptune or?
Oh no, it's way past that, dude. It's toward the edge of the galaxy.
So it's out of our solar system.
Oh, way past that.
So it's out of our solar system, which is incredible amount of distance. I mean, it's been traveling since it got launched in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Let's see.
Early 70s.
Voyager 1 launch date was in 77.
Yeah.
Voyager 2 was also in 77.
Yeah.
But it says that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to figure out where its current location is. I have it like in units of measurement, like distance from Earth, but I don't have it like as.
It is 24.9 billion kilometers.
Yeah.
From the Earth.
Just short of Saturn's orbit.
Oh, so it's out there by Saturn then?
No, the one that they're talking about now is
past.
It's way.
It's
way gone.
It's out there by Pluto.
I think that's. Voyager
I think it's
1
past that too.
Voyager 1, I think, is the one that's past Saturn, but I think he's talking about maybe 2. I don't know.
Well, the one I was talking about was Mars. This was the rover.
Yes, I'm sorry.
This is the Martian rover that took pictures of a physical object.
I'm talking about the Voyager satellite that's on the other side of the...
Right, I was referring to, in my initial statement was, did y'all see the latest thing from I didn't say the Mars rover, but it was, they took a picture of an object.
I remember that, yes.
That didn't look like a natural feature.
Right.
And it was a real up-close photo. It wasn't like this blurry, off in the distance thing. I mean, I was like, man, that kind of looked like somebody made that, there are some people that I mean, you got some people out there that think that actually Mars was inhabited at one time, and they're saying that Mars at one time had an atmosphere, it had water.
Voyager 1 is no longer in our solar system. It exited the system in 2012.
Wow. So it's past Pluto now.
Scientists marked as the official boundary into interstellar space.
Right, so it's between galaxies.
Yes.
Between galaxies.
It is no longer in ours. And that means it's so
it's
we're
not
random
in our
fact
system,
here.
not in our
It is
galaxy.
beyond the influence of the sun's solar wind.
Right.
That's how far away it is.
So it's that's what I'm saying. It's out of our little solar system within the Milky Way galaxy. It's not out of our galaxy yet.
And fun fact, it takes 23 hours and 5 minutes for a one-way communication to the satellite. So as far away as it is, it still takes about a day to get the information. That's kind of fantastic if you think about it.
Radio waves are traveling at the speed of light.
Right.
I mean, so... Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible that tech is still working from 1977.
That's wild.
That's
the fact
wild.
that it's still communicating,
It's
I don't know
still
how that...
communicating. That is just crazy. But yeah, check that photo from the Martian, the rover. And I thought it looked pretty cool to me.
Yeah. I'm trying to find it. I have something from like 22, but not from like recent. Like, I was trying to see if I can't find what you're talking about. I have a bunch of there's a bunch of like land masses here.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I saw it, and Martian.
Yeah, I see some nice rock faces. I see some interesting things like that, but yeah.
Well, they believe they found water.
Hey,
and obviously something had to happen to dig the gorges.
Yeah,
so something was flowing at one time.
It's crazy, man. I just hope that like AI doesn't ruin all this stuff.
Well, I mean, there's always a chance.
As far as like
I think
for
real, I mean, what's going to affect the person within the next 10 years or so is going to be AI.
Oh yeah.
Well, what happened in 2001: Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
HAL. was a version of AI, and he turned on the people. What if the biggest thing that they got off of in the spaceship was the computer program that was really basically just AI?
Well, I mean, you would think if a civilization existed or exists that can do what it does, in essence, travel interstellar, then I would think they would have some form of artificial intelligence to be able to.
So.
You would think that's reasonable to think that as a
and beyond quantum computing, right. Just to be able to handle the everything that would take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was I can't find it where I saw this. I'm trying to right now look at pictures of the Martian, which I love looking at those photos from Mars.
Crazy.
I think it's just unbelievable.
It's hard to wrap my head around
just the idea that there's a physical object that we made that's on this planet.
Yes.
That is, walking around. It's like, God, that looks like planet Earth. I mean, you can just go like out in the Gobi Desert or out somewhere out in Nevada and look. It looks the same way.
I'm looking at a photo right now of just sand and rocks.
Remove the plants.
Yes.
And just go out there. It looks the same. It looks like the same type of terrain.
I see hills. I see rocks. It's all, and in the sky is like a somewhat shade of pale white, or it's like it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting.
This has been fun. I've enjoyed just kind of playing around with this. But I'm telling you, we need to do an episode on DARPA.
Okay,
that would be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a fun one.
Yeah,
we need to do an episode on DARPA.
That is fun.
They got a lot of neat stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about it, go down a lot of rabbit holes.
Oh
with
yeah,
DARPA.
yeah.
And DARPA's real.
Oh yeah,
that's not a.
So Skunk Works.
Yeah, that's real stuff. So I mean, DARPA does exist, and it keeps us the leaders in the world. It does. I mean, I hate to say it, but it does, and it prevents the Chinese from from taking over.
Well, this was a fun little talk about history, and at the beginning, I didn't know we were going to talk about the world climate, which was kind of nice. A little we had a little tangent.
Well, it's kind of one of those conversations that just we kind of touch on a lot of different things,
and it's also very relevant. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot of scary stuff, and so
Well, maybe soon people can start paying $4.99 a month and start getting our pre-show, because those are always fun to listen to too. Exactly. Let us know if you'd like to hear the pre-show, what we talk about before we start recording, kind of getting the rhythm and stuff.
Yeah,
those are always pretty fun. We just got to convince somebody to hit the record button sometimes. Well. Maybe if y'all would be willing to pay $4.99 a month to listen to it, maybe we can convince somebody to hit that button.
Right. We get a little more explicit on
that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. Our next step is video.
So people
can see our beautiful faces.
Oh my gosh, I'm ready. I'm excited. Well, all right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And if you have any questions or if you have any comments you want to add, we have the comment sections on all the platforms. Spotify and YouTube come to mind, where you can leave us what you think and how you feel about what's going on right now. We also have the email address, getoffendedtogether@gmail.com, where you can send us more long-form responses.
Website, retrospectpodcast.com.
Jinx.
Yep.
And until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. God bless.
I don't have a fancy closing this week, but I'd like to leave you with a thought. This is America. We're raised to believe we can be anything we want to be. How about we just be kind? You're the best. Peace.